720 here, Big 550 KTRS.
Hillary Clinton may be the most corrupt person ever to seek the presidency of the United States.
That was Donald Trump reading from a teleprompter and on message. Brad Melke, ABC News correspondent. It was a Donald Trump we hadn't necessarily seen before, Brad.
Yeah, that's right. And they weren't necessarily attacks that we haven't heard before, but laid end to end. They stretched 41 minutes, all focused on Hillary Clinton. And this was sort of, I think, the speech that a lot of Republicans have been waiting, not just for the last 12 months of the Trump campaign, but for years, to really hear this case prosecuted against Hillary Clinton on all things, foreign, domestic, trade, and especially Donald Trump pointing to what he called personal corruption, saying that she was getting rich off of the backs of working Americans, again, going for quite a long time and raising quite a few eyebrows in the process.
Yeah, it was actually riddled with some actual facts in there as well, was there not?
Yeah, well, it was sort of Swiss cheese as far as the facts were concerned. Sometimes he's already gotten a pants on fire rating for some of his claims from PolitiFact. One of them being, for as an example, saying that Hillary Clinton wants to bring in hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees. She's actually pegged that number at 65,000. And that for all the money that she would spend on them, that you could actually fix every inner city in America. That was the claim that a lot of people immediately sort of dismissed out of hand.
But he also questioned her about the emails and all these other things, all while he refuses to release his own email or release his own taxes.
Yeah, that's right. And this is sort of the continuing back and forth between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Her saying, I've sort of done everything I need to do. Him saying there's an audit against my tax returns, so I don't want to do anything right now. Of course, either of them could talk much more about these their own personal issues here, but neither one wants to. So instead, they're sort of pointing the finger at each other. He also did go into several things that Hillary Clinton, of course, has said incorrectly over the years, saying she was under sniper fire in Bosnia, when in fact she was just being sort of greeted very nicely by people on a runway. So there were a lot of facts, like you said, sort of riddled in there. And I imagine when he gets called out on some of the whoppers that he told, that he can point to the other several dozen accusations he laid at her feet.
All right, so that was the more traditional Trump. And you would expect that all Republicans who, as you said, were waiting for this, they got it. It was a bunch of red meat. And yet this dump Trump movement from the delegates gains more momentum on the same day?
Yeah, gains momentum, although, going from 12 delegates to 30 delegates out of a convention of whatever it is, 2,500 delegates, I hesitate to call this a movement yet so much as sort of a little skirmish within the Republican Party. But yeah, a few dozen delegates got on the conference call and are talking about changing some rules to get rid of Donald Trump as the nominee, to prevent him from winning that nomination. He got that magic number of delegates, right, 1237, but they could change the rules and say he actually has to get 2,000 delegates or 1,800 delegates. I mean, they can make up whatever they want. And so some delegates are also saying they should have a conscience clause, saying even if you're bound to vote for Donald Trump because of how the people of your state voted, you, the delegate, should be able to vote for whomever you want, sort of overturning the will of the people around you. So those are some of the options on the table right now.
The delegates are the true believers. Are they doing this organically, or, as some people think, there's somebody behind them, a Ted Cruz faction, a Mitt Romney faction, that is pulling the strings of these delegates?
Well, I think it could be both, right? When you talk about, a lot of these delegates truly do believe in say, Ted Cruz, and really believe that Donald Trump might be a bad president. I don't know if there's any larger machinations going on, considering I think any reasonable party leader right now thinks that this would be such a far-fetched move to try to install a different nominee. In fact, a lot of these delegates don't even have a candidate in mind. They just want to prevent Donald Trump from being the nominee. But imagine if somebody else won, if Mitt Romney was just installed as the nominee, how bad that would look for the Republican Party. I don't think someone like he or Ted Cruz really wants the nomination right now, because it would be a losing campaign, you got to think.
Brad Melke, last question for you. You watch this stuff on a daily basis. Donald Trump, as you said, was more presidential, used the prompter, was on message. Did he get as much attention than when he goes off the cuff and says something that sort of riles up everybody? So was he actually not as, was he not as interesting yesterday by reading off the prompter?
That's the thing. I do think that some of what he said might have gotten lost yesterday because most of these are attacks we'd heard before from Hillary Clinton over the last 20 years. That's the thing with Bill and Hillary Clinton is you sort of know what you're getting. Everything that can be dug up against them has been used at some point already. So I don't know if he got a ton of attention. And then remember, at the same time he's taking the podium, Democrats are taking the House floor in what became a pretty big spectacle last night. So by the time I got back to the office coming from that Trump event, all the cable networks were showing was the Democratic takeover of the House floor. So for sure, I think Donald Trump might fly under the radar a little bit when he reads off that prompter.
Brad Mielke, we're going to talk to Karen Travers in a half hour about that exact story. Brad, thank you for checking in. Great insights.
Thank you.
625, Big 550, KTRS, R&R Sanitation Porta Potties.